Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another bonus episode of the Missing Links post-game podcast live stream thing. DeMarc says in the chat already, sup Dookie heads. I don't think that's what you guys should be calling yourselves. That is not a good nickname for anyone who is watching this podcast, listening to it. That is just not a good. Don't do that. I'm Andrew Dukowitz, though, from Zone Coverage and Sports Illustrated. We also have Sloane Martin, the voice of the Lynx. How's it going, Sloane?
Oh,
I did that thing again where I muted Sloane so that in case she had to like blow her nose during the music, it wouldn't be caught. But now Sloane is here. How's it going, Sloane?
now I'm here. I'm happy to be here for our monthly visit. I'm sorry, I'm still laughing from that comment. It did bring me back like to Green Day and their album. And I was like, do you have to like maybe be of a certain age to have made that connection? I don't know. But I'm ready to
Green
talk.
Day's dope. It's just, yeah, I'm glad everyone is unanimously shooting down that nickname. Sorry, DeMarc. That was, just not where I would go with it. Sloane's back, monthly visit. I feel like not much has changed in the last month. The Lynx just ripped through July. 12 out of the last 13 games they've won. The one game they lost, everyone was terrible, if I remember right. I guess let's just start off. How's the month been for you?
You know what? It's been awesome to see this run that the Lynx have been on, certainly with the exception of the aforementioned every player at every position was terrible, although that feels like an all-time soundbite. But otherwise, you're right. I mean, this has just been a Lynx team that continues to separate itself. And we've been saying from the very beginning, and I've been pointing out just how much of a gap there is, I think, when you just look on paper with the Lynx. And I know that there have been slip-ups to this point that have maybe been pretty consistent to this point. But when you look at overall with net rating, with scoring margin, those are two things that I really like to look at. That is something that really stands out to me about this team. That has been consistently very strong. Unfortunately, from a personal perspective, I haven't done the last 4 games because of national exclusives, so I'm like raring to go. The FOMO was hitting me intensely with that historic game for K-Mac because she's been here for so many years and is just such a great person and player to celebrate. So ready to get back in the saddle and the microphone. So that is basically July for me. I've been enjoying this ride and how the Lynx are performing overall, even if Cheryl has continued to kind of, push things with her team. But, excited to see how things go the rest of the way leading into that FIBA break.
Yeah, when you're not covering a game, do you still go? Do you hate watch on TV? Do you just listen in silence as like Matthew's grinding tape in the other room? What's the Sloane watching a game knowing that she should be doing it vibe?
Well, Matthew is a season ticket holder and has been since 2018. So I feel like he's in one of the longer groups of people and fans who have been there. But with training camp, he just can't really go. So it's like trying to like scramble to find someone to go with me, which is not hard with this team. But at the same time, to be honest, it's kind of fun to just take it in from your couch, have the dog nearby, and just like kind of relax, turn off that part of my brain where it's like I don't have to be like I'm locked in, but like the intensity of processing everything that you have to know within a game that's going on at that time. So it is more of a relaxing experience. I'm still taking notes. I'm still thinking about what would I ask in the post game? What would I be talking about right now? But it is definitely a different, obviously, environment. Just in my living room, honestly, that's what it's been for me the last couple of games.
Kat brings up after the Sparks post-game presser, Cheryl made everyone feel like they were in the principal's office. A lot of people were commenting that like because she was looking dead into my phone camera, that they were like, is Cheryl mad at me? I'm like, no, I don't think you were terrible. I don't think the fans are included on a position on the floor, but yeah, all-time Cheryl quote.
Yeah.
I did want to, before we get into hard like meats and potatoes basketball things, this question comes because I feel having a post-game live stream, writing about this team, I have kind of felt this way throughout the whole year of like 20 years from now, people are still going to be hearing your clips and like hearing your voice on Olivia Miles highlights. I am assuming there'll still be an internet, and for whoever, whatever God's reason would be, to look up zone coverage pieces. But like Cassidy Hedesheimer has been on here and talked about like, the Star Tribune's kind of chronicling or at least journaling these milestones for her. Like, what has it been like? I guess just to put it bluntly, like knowing your voice is going to be accompanying Olivia Miles' rookie season probably forever.
Yeah, that is something. To be honest, it's not something I sit with a whole lot, like, in that kind of explicit way of thinking about it, because you go into every game, "How can I do this justice? How can I meet the moment?" And that's the kind of pressure you go into every single game, because you don't know when someone's gonna set a record, a WNBA record, and hit 10 threes, but you have to be prepared with the energy of that moment, the context of that moment, to know how many people have come short of doing this in the past, how significant of a benchmark this is in WNBA history. So it's the same thing. And I don't want to say that is heightened with Olivia Miles, because each person's performance, the entire story and culmination of this narrative of each team and each season is so important to all these stakeholders involved, whether it is players, coaches, their family members. It's not to put her kind of on this pedestal, but you're
Mhm.
exactly right that that is the question that I ask myself. Am I doing this justice? And that is the thing that I keep going back to, and that's why, I feel happy about it so far, just the energy, pure, just kind of excitement and joy. It is all genuine that I'm feeling in the moment, because I just have, the eye-popping, jaw-dropping moments, like, they hit me the same way, but I can't just sit there silently. I have to actually, like, be able to compel something intelligible out of me in these moments, you know what I mean? So I'm feeling the exact same way, and I hope that that comes through in terms of just complete awe and to really describe how special this is. And I think, I feel like this is getting very philosophical for another moment, Andrew, because something that I care really deeply about in sports overall is greatness. And
Mhm.
that's just not something you can say about everything and everyone. That's how special it is. We can't just be sharing that title with things that we happen to like or enjoy. Like, what does it actually mean to be great? Championships are important. Winning means something. But I think with the way she's been playing, having an MVP caliber season, that is great. So really to make sure that that comes across. So it's not something I deliberate over, I would
Mhm.
say, but I think it's one of those things that you hope you can look back on. You're right, whether it's months from now or 50 years from now, and whatever iteration of the internet exists, as you alluded to, and saying like, hey, that's, you really help people get it. This really was like the soundtrack and the narrative, and it lined up and it meant something and it resonated with people.
Do you and this I'm only asking this because I remember talking to Michael Grady about it, and Torian Prince hit a 3. I think it was like his 6th 3 in the game, and Grady just unloaded a dearly beloved Prince, like, reference
Mhm.
after that one. Do you have, like, preloaded, "I've thought of this for a moment, I'm just holding it for the right moment" type of calls, or is this all just off the cuff for you?
I would say probably 93% of it is. There's things that I've thought about, like maybe different, game-winning shot scenarios coming into each game, but it also is just so hard to predict that you don't want it to sound rehearsed or prepared. That's certainly something I've done in the past. For example, I've done 2 Olympic Games, and I know if who the gold medal favorites. I've done multiple gold medal matches, and I did wheelchair basketball in the Paralympics for Paris as well. No, so you have a good idea of what a potential outcome is. When I was doing men's wheelchair basketball for NBC for the Paralympics for 2024, I had that locked and loaded. That they were going to win gold and what it was going to sound like. And that was such a fun team to watch. Just as a side note, like, they reminded me of the Lynx in so many ways, of just like this perfectly crafted starting five. So I had so much appreciation for that team and that group, and learned so much about that sport. But when it comes to the Lynx overall, you have to think about it. It's a long season. And I think
Mhm.
you really want those emotions to be true and genuine and speak for themselves. Maybe for the playoffs, you get a little more specific, because the matchups are so specific. You can really bring some precision to what you're seeing, a little bit more predictability as well, too, as opposed to regular season games. There's a lot of variability. So I would say it depends on the timing of this game, the situation. But I would say, and I would be curious, it's not something I've talked about a ton with other broadcasters, is how common it is really to think those things out ahead of time. But I think I even told you in one of our earliest conversations that, like, I have words, some phrases written down that I feel like I've added to my repertoire
Mhm.
because of Olivia Miles. That I wanted, right on the tip of my tongue to have access to because I knew what kind of eye-popping plays she was gonna have and to just have that ready to go.
I think I would almost you mentioned, like, the excitement and how you want it to feel kind of organic. I feel like I would almost go too far that way if I was doing it because I've mentioned this on the last couple pods. There's just this play against the Aces where she does like a pop dribble where she
Yeah.
throws the ball like 15 feet in front of her with so much backspin that it just hits the deck and then pops straight up like back into her hand. And that's like something you do on the playground when you're just like, dicking around or trying to impress somebody. And Olivia Miles is doing it in like a 6-point game against the Aces on prime time. And like those things I would end up just talking about for like 14 minutes of like, this is how ridiculous this is.
You know what? And that trust me, that's sometimes the struggle too, where you just wanna be completely in awe of what you're seeing and take it in. But that's while it is also organic, and I want people to feel like there's this approachability and warmth that I have just like over the air and feeling like we are, buds and we're hanging out and we're watching something that we care about together and I'm bringing you along for that. Um, but it's also a performance in a way too. Maybe that's also
Mhm,
the theater kid in me speaking where it's like I'm talking into a microphone, you're bringing this kind of grandiose environment to people's living rooms. So there's also like that balance of it as well too, where it's like performance but also organic. I think that is a good word for it with,
mhm.
the people involved, the fans, the viewers right at the forefront of it.
I just know I would sound like the Charlotte Hornets guy and just be like freaking out over everything. Um, do you have a call that is your favorite so far?
You know what's so funny? I have been asked this before, and maybe I need to have my short-term memory checked out because I even have a note on my in my notes app of like even games to remember because it just escapes from my mind.
Mhm.
Like Matthew has a photographic memory. Like if you ask him, what did the Vikings do in week 3 in 2022? He will tell you the score, who they played, final stats, and I'm like dysfunctional, I guess, when it comes to this. I think there was one, Andrew, and this is the problem, is that I can't even remember the exact game, but it was the first time where Liv, she like had some late game heroics and she was like bringing the flex and everything. That really fires
Mhm.
me up. Like I want to run through a brick wall with her. And it was one time where I hit the spectacle really
Mhm.
hard because I really like that kind of not overusing it. Like I love that nickname for her, absolutely. But I just felt like in that moment, it just hit really well. So that's one that stands out. But can I tell you what game it was? Absolutely not.
I love first off, I just have to say this. I love that she didn't choose the spectacle,
Yeah,
and that's just what her nickname is.
I love
Like,
it.
I just that makes it so much better that she was like the show or oh my, that when I
Mm,
asked her early in the season, she was like, "Yeah, Cheryl Miller said the show. That's cool." Like,
right.
"Oh my" is what they called me in college and like all of that. And then nope, it's just the spectacle. The Lynx fans and broader media have just completely taken over it. That's just it makes it so much better when people don't pick their own nicknames.
It feels, like, very organic too in this way, like, the
Mhm,
way it's come across and just, like, the swagger she has, her look, the way she plays, all of it adds up to this aura, as the kids would say, that is just so undeniable and so, just, like, attractive, you know what I mean, in terms of how you wanna watch her and be a fan of her, so all of it adds up together. I would say too, and this involves Liv, this just came to my head too, was the between the legs pass to
yeah,
K-Mac for a 3. I do like to like because again, it's not about me. This is not my stage for
mhm,
Sloane's voice. I thought like it was like short, impactful, and it was a punch. Um,
mhm.
so that felt good.
No, and that you I think I don't remember if I texted you or if I just retweeted it out
That
or
might have been the
reposted it
one
out,
where we started this conversation. Yeah.
but I was just like it reminded me of like the up high down low call by Kevin Harlan where it's
Mm.
like that could be a call on Olivia Miles's like highlight tape for the rest of her career.
Oh
That
yeah.
like how cool is that? That's just it's super cool, let's be honest.
Honestly, it truly is because the highlights you just they don't stop.
Ever. It's
No,
every game.
there's no time when you can ever relax when the ball is in her hands. It is constant intensity. What is she going to do?
What's with Miles? Because you talk to the players more than I do. I mean, especially when you get to like hang out at practices and stuff like that. Like, what's the most impressive thing you've heard other players talk to her? I mean, I'll just preface this by like K-Mac, Tosh, and I think it was Courtney, all have talked this season about Liv's ability to throw the laces the way they want them on like stand jump shots. And that has just all season taken me aback of just like, she's a rookie that can throw laces. That's like Jason Williams didn't figure it out until he was in Miami type of stuff. That's ridiculous. What do you have a moment like that where like a player's telling you a story about her and you're just kind of sitting there like, oh yeah, this is insane.
Do you remember when Cheryl was like, I can't believe what she's able to do with her left hand, the
Mhm.
velocity she's able to pick up with her left hand. She's like, I haven't seen that before. That's another thing that comes to my mind. I think when you asked me this, the thing that immediately I think of, Andrew, is just that from observing, sitting through practices, she is just as intense in practices as she is in games, where she wants every pass to connect. And she is so charged up at every jaw-dropping assist that she's able to pick up. And Cheryl and the coaching staff and other players have alluded to this too, where it's like in practice, you're just like, how did she do that? All the time. And that has continued, this deep into her rookie season. So I would say it's observing her, the competitiveness that she brings, the expectation she has of herself that no matter how flashy a pass is, she expects it because that's how she envisioned it in her mind, thinking multiple chess moves ahead, reading that defense, using her IQ. So it's more of, and I apologize, I feel like it's like a highlight reel in my own head from all the practices I've sat in
Mhm.
on of just like seeing that intensity and the excitement that her teammates have in getting those passes in practice. So it's one of those things. I mean, you talked about it with like obviously her passing, hitting laces, her left hand, all of the above, but it's that she expects it to be executed by herself every single time. And to see the absolute, I mean, her teammates just light up when it
Yeah.
happens during practice. They could be going as hard as possible, trying to work on something incredibly challenging. And she just lifts everyone because of how fun that is as an environment, a player to be around.
Those poor practice guys. I mean, I heard stories last year about how much like Courtney and Napheesa trash talked them, and I already kind of felt bad for them, and now they're just getting like mesmerized with passes every day.
I think Courtney keeps it fun though. Like I think she has good relationships. A lot of them have been around for a very long time and are just very familiar to these players and to Coach Reeve and the coaching staff. But I still remember one walking by this year, and this was again because defense has been really, hammered home over the last couple of weeks. And he was getting a water nearby, and he was like, "Yeah, let them go again." They had like, not done a drill properly. So he was just like trying to catch his breath, get some water. And he's like, yeah, give him another try. Let him do it again because he needed a moment. And he just like kind of said that off to the side to me. But you can see like they're extremely tested.
It's just insane. I do want to talk about defense. First, I'm going to throw us over to our ad reads, though. When we come back, I'm very curious about what you've made of this month of July.
Yeah.
Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read. This time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. So I'm going to preface this by saying the Lynx are still the number 3 overall defense in the league. They are the number 2 offense, number 1 in net, number 1 in per game plus minus, 3rd in true shooting, 3rd in assist to turnover ratio. Oddly, this is probably a stat that I pay way too much attention to just because I love point guards, but like they're 12th in assist percentage, which is wild to me that some of it is ISO play, all that stuff, but like, it's just notable. But on their defense, especially, if we go from May to July 2nd, because Cheryl said she noticed the switch was July 3rd when I asked her when that happened. May to July 2nd, 97.4 defensive rating, a 9.9 lead over the Las Vegas Aces, and a 13.4 net rating. Both of those ranked first, obviously. Since July 3rd, defensive rating of 110.8, which is good for 11th. They still have the best net rating in the league. But like a 17-point defensive or 17-point math, 10 plus, go back to the other screen, Andrew, 10 plus 3, a 13-point drop off. That's wild, especially considering in July, they only played the Liberty that were really like playoff contenders. I mean, what do you make of it?
It's hard to quantify it on paper because you're right. When you look overall, they're still statistically one of the best defenses in the WNBA. And we know that a team like Golden State, for example, I mean, they've been a very respectable, very stout defensive team since last year under Natalina Kase. So you expect to see them up there. They've been very consistent. Washington has now made this surge, and this links very closely behind in terms of defensive rating. And it's one of those things where you're right. You have to look beyond just, well, is this matchup based? Because this is a pretty sizable sample when you're looking at over a month, and Coach Reeve being, harping on it so heavily with this team. And it wasn't just that recent loss and the every player at every position was terrible. There really had been, I think, this mounting frustration.
Multiple post games.
Exactly. Multiple post games. This idea that Coach Reeve was really trying to inject into her team where you can't score 110 points every single night, and that's how you beat teams. But they were able to with those, how many single digit wins, at least 6 in a row of that 6-game win streak, and I think it ended up becoming like 8 of the 9 in that win streak were by single digits. I mean, that is a unbelievable amount of success, the late game execution, the gutted out kind of mentality. And it feel like, Andrew, this is not me, not copping out to like this question. It's honestly, I don't know exactly what it is because we have asked this question in different ways, so many different times. And, players talk about making sure it's an entire possession. It is all 40 minutes. It is cohesion. It's executing throughout the entire shot clock. And that Cheryl says it's not the scheme. If you try hard, you can play any scheme out there. I remember her saying that, even earlier last month too. So it seems like it has been something of a quandary for this team, but they've continued to win in spite of it. So I don't know if it is, the mental part of it where it's like we can still overcome teams because we have basically our entire starting 5 is all-stars pretty much, just, overall, objectively speaking. But you would think this has been, like I said, a large enough sample size, a large enough span to see some more of that improvement. But because I thought too, Andrew, as a side note early on, I thought, well, maybe we just have to adjust our expectations of defense overall and kind of this new era in the officiating. But you also have to think about how much offense is actually coming from the free throw line, for example. So I feel like there's still a lot to digest here, and I don't know exactly 100% what to make of it, besides it has gone on for quite some time that Reeve has been continuing to hit this home.
Yeah, and it's one of my least favorite things, asking athletes after a game, like what went wrong defensively, because like Court has talked about it a few times when I've asked her, and she's like, we just got to lock in. We just got to focus more, be there for each other. Liv mentions effort quite a bit, which I don't think that's a Lynx problem. I think that might just be a Liv problem on defense, where it is just, she does so much on offense and she does have a tendency to fall asleep sometimes on defense. But I don't think Mac is like not bringing efforts, or Court isn't bringing efforts, or Tosh isn't. I mean, Tosh is almost dying out there sometimes. So the players are pointing more towards it's on us. We just got to figure it out. And then Cheryl, you're right. Like Cheryl's a little more open, where she'll say our guard defense needs to be better, our point of attack needs to be better, like rotations need to be crisper.
Now, what about just to quickly interject? I remember it was even, and this is again, sorry, I can't remember the exact game, but when she said our post did a better job guarding the guards than our guards did, I think that was actually Portland, which is actually good to remember for me going into tomorrow's game. Portland, that was, I feel like, a turning point of this kind of defensive struggle time. Reeve had some of her most, I think, piercing comments the last time they played Portland at Target Center when Bridget Carlton went off, and she said they abandoned their pick and rolls just so they could attack downhill against our guards. That this high volume pick and roll team just said, hey, this is much easier. Just go with their guards. So sorry, I had to bring that up because it just jumped into my head about that being, I think, a significant game in the memory of this coaching staff.
You're exactly right. It was after that Portland game, and then the next game was the Seattle game, where Flaugier just scored like 20 something and also humiliated the guards. And then at that time, after the Seattle game, I remember looking at the defensive ratings, and they were 14th, second to last. That's how rough they were in July.
I had that in my
notes.
My
point being is just, I don't really know what it is either, other than like they just have to be better. Like that might be the most cop-out answer, but it's kind of what the players are saying.
I have to agree with you, because you're right. That's what we have to go off, is what they are experiencing and what they're seeing from their vantage point. They're the ones going through the scouting reports and know what they have to execute. And over this period of time, when it's hard to put your finger on what it is, it's a little bit of a head scratcher at this point, but especially when they've been winning so many games. And that's what I was going to say, is that even over their win streak, I think it even got up to 6. And I was like, just to have on hand, I was writing down in my notes that they were 14th in offensive rating. They were 15th in opponent field goal percentage. It just was not the place where you'd expect the Minnesota Lynx to be, and they were pulling off those very close wins. So it's something that I think we're going to continue to hear. It has to get right. We're getting closer to the playoffs. We expect this to be what it was in the beginning of the season, and maybe an increased sense of urgency as they get closer to that FIBA break.
A couple of people have brought up in the chat is just other teams have more tape, changes other teams' effort coming in, wanting to bring their best efforts, playing I certainly think that is some of it. Like, also, a lot of other teams had completely new rosters as well that needed to gel and figure out how to run their offenses, where the Lynx are just kind of this machine. So that could be some of it. I think that the thing that makes me push back against that is the game against the Aces, where they just lock in for 3 quarters and hold Asia to her worst shooting percentage of the season and hold the team to shooting under 40%. And it's like, well, the Aces definitely had the same scouting report, and before they punted in New York, they thought they could catch up to the 1 seed. So like, why did it change against the Aces, or why did it look better against the Wings? Which that as well just makes my head scratch even more, because it's like, how come they can just lock in sometimes?
And that's probably something that the coaching staff has picked up on as well, and wanting to stave off at this point, and not, only perhaps, gearing up for those expected playoff teams, those big performances, the big, ABC games or whatever it might be, and having it be day in and day out. So I think that makes me feel like this Wednesday game against Portland is going to be really important, based on how that last game was, coming off of this stretch, and seeing, let's better what we saw last time against the Fire.
McKinney basically says my conspiracy theory of just hooping versus defensive identity. They've been a hooping team this year. Like they go out there and hoop, and defense usually isn't involved in hooping.
Kind of like
Um,
Courtney Williams, and she might
I
might
mean, I tried to ask Cheryl about it earlier, and I think I made her brain explode because I put too many words into the sentence. But I was like, why was last year the word hooping never brought up ever?
Mm.
And this year it's like 17 times a press conference that somebody says hooping. And Cheryl was just kind of like Courtney Williams. Probably she's back to shooting guard, so she's just hooping. And I was just like,
That
okay,
is
well, that
true.
didn't help. Jeremy asks us a question here. Andrew Sloane, what is the one thing that we have to improve on going forward this season? I'll throw it to you first.
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot to go first. I can't get the wheels moving
I
here
mean,
on
I can go first. I think they need to improve more so than on defense. Just the careless turnovers. It's
Mhm.
such easy points that you can even against like the Aces. Liv, I think they had 13 turnovers and the Aces only had 4 steals. Like that's just easy points that you can put in the point differential. If you just clean up the inbound into the third row, or Liv gets it on a break and throws it to K-Mac, who isn't looking. It's raining. Hen has another good one. Layups. OMG, please. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I was going to say, Andrew, kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about, is the full 40 minutes.
Mhm.
We don't expect the Lynx to win every game by 20. Remember that stretch through June where they beat, 6 straight opponents by at least 20 points, and it was just a remarkable run and really taking advantage of these teams, lower in the standings. I feel like getting back to that kind of ferocity from the get-go where it extends the entire game to put the clamps down on everyone, to eliminate any kind of idea that there might be like the embers burning of a comeback and just extinguish that very early on. So I think kind of reestablishing that kind of ferocious identity, make teams fear you the way you play an entire 40-minute game. For example, I feel like that's honestly a persona Golden State has where they're so hard to play against. They feel like a team that you kind of dread going up against because of how tough and physical they are. They do not relent. And that's not to say that the Lynx are not that kind of team, but making that as consistent, I feel like would even set the Lynx apart even more. The other would be, and maybe this is just something, Andrew, that it is what it is, and this is what the Lynx have. But I think anytime you can get more bench production, and of
Yeah.
course that depends on the game, depends on the circumstances. Of course, again, not every team is going to be Golden State in that regard, in terms of getting that production from the bench, and they likely have the 6th player of the year in Janelle Salon. But it's something that I feel like kind of always has to maybe be high on the list of like, can we eke out a little bit more? The Lynx are not at trouble in this point. They don't even have anyone in the top 10 in minutes per game, so it doesn't feel dire. But I just think depth, dependability, deep playoff run, that's really a positive place to be.
The bench is interesting because I pretty frequently on post games will bring up total minutes and then shot attempts points for the bench. It's almost like the bench collectively is one player. And it is pretty frequent where they have like 30 or 40 minutes of play and they're at like 7 or 8 points total. And it's
Yeah.
just, if that was a starter, you'd be really disappointed if they're playing a full game and getting you 8 points. I do agree with you too on just the almost like breaking the will of other teams, where they did do that earlier this year, where they would just hit a dagger 3 and then get 3 or 4 straight stops and then it's just over. Um,
Maybe it's because I've
Jeremy,
listened to really quick. Maybe it's because I've
yeah,
listened to Cheryl for so long, where it's like we can put even all the stats aside, but how often does Cheryl say, "Be hard to play against"?
yeah,
That is like her number one thing that she seems to care about the most from her teams.
mhm.
So I think about that in terms of when I watch a game, evaluating them, putting that kind of like Cheryl hat on, so to speak, and that's the question I go to because she talks about it so frequently.
It's interesting. Todd mentions, you know, bench hasn't been bad defensively, but hit or miss offensively. Again, Sloane knows I was digging in advanced stats earlier today, and someone that pops up consistently in the advanced stats of just defense is Maya Caldwell and Antonia Dallaire. Like, both of them are really good opponent field goal percentages, really good steal percentages. Like, Nia Coffey, I'm sure if I was looking up forwards, would be there as well. They do have good defensive pieces off the bench. I do. What's your thoughts been on Nia and her transition to the bench? Do you think she's just more hurt than we all realized? Do you think it's just been an adjustment? Because the like 8 to 12 minutes per game has been a little eyebrow raising for me. I thought she'd be closer to 20 or so, but also she's had ankle, shoulder, busted lip, hit in the face, just about every injury you can imagine.
I know Cheryl has said more than once, multiple times, about Nia's maybe the person, along with K-Mac, of course, but who's throwing the biggest party when Fee comes back because of the minutes and the toll on her body, the pressure she had, the shots she was finding that she had to knock down. And for a great percentage of the time, she was doing that and she was meeting and executing what the team was expecting of her. But you're right, it feels like, is this still, in my mind, still a work in progress for what that looks like. And Cheryl has said too that this is a very mature person. This is a professional. This is a veteran who is not going to have her feathers rustled by having one of the greats in the game right now, Napheesa Collier, take your place in the starting lineup. But you have to think too, and the kind of opportunity she's able to find if you're not on the floor with Olivia Miles. Who you play with has such a big impact on what you're able to find and what you're able to produce. And that's not a knock by any means on the reserves. That goes for any team or anyone who's coming off the bench. It just changes. And that's, just objectively true. So I kind of see it, Andrew, as, even 7 games, 8 games now. I still see it as a work in progress of what that looks like for her.
Todd, I'm going to answer your question, the 40% benchmark. That will be Cheryl's benchmark until like the world ends or she dies. Like, whatever comes first, that is what Cheryl is going to hold. Shooting percentages aren't up drastically across the league. It's just more points. Like, teams are getting more possessions because they're scoring earlier in the shot clock. But like, the percentages are still pretty comparable to last year or the last couple of years. So I tend not to adjust like how I've been looking at defenses and stuff, but I would wager that Cheryl will never abandon that statistic.
I would agree with that. And I feel like I need to do my own kind of deep dive about this from kind of updating from several weeks ago. We were still feeling out what officiating and free throw shooting looks like kind of in this year and the effect on offense, because there's no doubt. I mean, you just look at the Lynx doubling up their previous season record for 100-point games. I'm sure that goes across the board for so many teams in the W, and continuing to set new records in offensive ratings. So it is, I feel like, something I need to dive into again. But like, I believe you that if you look at shooting percentage not being that different, that is significant, I think, notable.
It's the free throws that have gone up pretty remarkably. And then it's just the amount of possessions, because you're not getting grabbed on back cuts or you're not getting grabbed off of wings. You're just getting shots easier. But I don't think it's like players are just like all of a sudden everyone's shooting 40% from 3. Like, it's still, it's very weird. And honestly, the other weird thing about like the advanced side of it is the Lynx have actually been fine in that part. Like, they're not among the league leaders in fouls. They're not like giving up a ton of free throws. They've kind of figured out how to guard and play. But then it's kind of, as Cheryl says, like, if they make a basket, the other team can just run out in front of them and score at will.
Yeah. Yeah. She's talked about a lot of those where it's like, we're just trading baskets. Not what she wants. Yeah.
No. Last question I wanted to leave you with here. If Maya Moore, because I know you're a big Maya fan, if she was allowed to play with these current rules, over or under 34 points a game?
Okay, first of all, are we looking at like Maya as a 37-year-old? And I say that as she's 3 days younger than me, so there is also this special.
Maya could still score 16. I wouldn't say 37, but let's
No, no,
say
no, no,
we
at
take
37 years old. Like she's 37 right now. You're talking about
right.
like
Like
she was.
if Maya just went back to the WNBA, I bet
Oh,
she could still be a valuable bench player.
oh, I maybe I sound crazy. I think more than that. I think still you're talking like if she was obviously consistently playing, I don't mean dropped
Mhm.
in right now. I think still an all WNBA player, Andrew.
Really?
I absolutely do.
I mean,
And
she
again,
was
maybe that
so
is
good.
my millennial bias as like I said, we're the like exact same age. And our numbers are dwindling here in the WNBA. But I do truly think she is that legendary of a talent that with these rules in this current year of the way we are seeing officiating, scoring, possessions, all of that, I think it would hugely benefit her. Hugely.
The whole reason I got on this topic, I asked Way about it at one of the shoot arounds,
Mm.
and I was just Way, first off, in her humble way, says she wouldn't be able to play in this new age because she'd be having to run too much, and that just seems like a lot of work, which fair. But like, think of like Simone with the new how it's all threes are at the paint and how open mid-range shots are. Like Simone could have scored 6 more a game just by the rules. Maya, I mean, good lord, she would have been dropping 40 on teams regularly
I
just
mean,
because she'd be able to play.
I truly believe that this would have been another golden era for her as a player that's already a Hall of Fame career because of the opportunities she would find under this current ecosystem of WNBA basketball that we've been seeing this season. It's been an interesting one when we look at expansion and what players are standing out right now and
Mhm.
the opportunities other players are able to find. I feel like there is this fun variability, but I think that would open up even more opportunities for Maya Moore to be absolutely dominant.
It's in my head, I just sit here and I'm like, man, if Simone could have just played now, like she wouldn't be getting clotheslined coming off of screens, like there wouldn't be two bigs clogging the paint. They just leave her open to shoot twos like they leave court open to shoot twos, and it's
Which is
just
always so remarkable when she
I
just
know,
hits her perfect like dribble rhythm and it's just like there's still no one around her here in transition
ever.
for her 15 to 19 footer that she can do with her eyes closed in her sleep. But yeah, I had to bring up, I'm glad you brought up Simone because when she was here, and kind of, I was meeting with everybody for Sylvia Fowles and having her banner updated with the Hall of Fame, the last time the Portland Fire were here. I was just watching her shoot, and you forget that she's like a solid 6 feet tall.
Mhm.
And even at this age, and even, many years obviously as a coach, the ball just sounded differently going through the net. It's so hard to describe, like, just
Yeah,
someone
no.
who is so talented, this is just second nature to them. I was just sitting there just marveling at how
It's
just
like
like
watching K-Mac. It
yeah,
it does. It truly just sounds different
yeah,
when the ball spins and hits the net, and
it
it's just
really is.
there's nothing like it. Like, that's the coolest anyone that asks me, like, "What's the coolest part about doing this?" It's, like, just being able to watch people do drills because you just see, like,
I love
they
it.
don't miss.
I love watching
They're
warm-ups.
so good.
I think warm-ups are honestly, and maybe this is a funny way to describe it, I think they're, like, so badass, like, you
Yeah.
get to see them just, like, unguarded, show off everything they're able to do, literally never miss, especially the shooters and watching K-Mac where it is just, like, you are locked in, like, this is a not, like, robotic kind of warm-up, but, like, you're seeing a machine go to work, and you just, like,
Mhm.
get to take it all in, and I totally agree with you, and that's why I wish that more like casual fans got to see players really as up close as we do. Like to feel their force dribbling up the floor. Like if you're sitting courtside, I'm sure those fans know.
Mhm.
Like I feel like I see Nate Pence all the time in the corner celebrating. Like he knows because he's always sitting right there. but to really see their power up close and the skill and the speed, like, of course, that's something we all appreciate and can see it on TV. But I think when you feel like the wind blow past you, when you see K-Mac just eke past the screen, like it is just different when you can almost feel like you're getting hit by that screen too.
And then you just think that they do it over and over, and especially K-Mac. Like
Yeah.
I hope at some point someone throws one of those like Nike like feet monitors or whatever that tracks how many miles she's gone
Yeah.
in a game so that we can have public information of K-Mac just running
Mm.
like 17 miles in a game. And she plays her best ball at the end. Like 35 minutes of running off screens and then 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. She's playing her best basketball. It's truly insane.
When I look at K-Mac, and this is something I've said that kind of coming off of that career high 43-point performance, and of course the WNBA record 10 threes, is you look at someone who has just spent a lifetime perfecting their craft.
Yep.
Think about the thousands of shots she's put up to be able to do that. The hours in the gym. It truly does blow my mind to see that kind of dedication, that kind of obsession, the competitiveness. And that again is going back to like that is greatness. You know,
Yeah.
to have a performance like that because of the time you put in and how much you care. So I think that added into how special of a day that was is like, you know, that she has worked relentlessly to have that moment.
Also, Lynx fans, next time Mackie, you got to chant Mackie. You can't do I haven't called Kayla McBride in probably 4 years. Like,
Oh yeah. It
you
feels
got to
like
go Mackie.
even
He
like
can't go Kayla.
when we're doing post-game interviews with her, and I'm very, I think, conscientious of nicknames because I don't want to like I'm very conscientious of like I don't want to sound like we're pals and
Yeah,
we're
you're
you know what I
professional.
mean?
I'm a beat
Exactly.
reporter. I can just
Yeah.
be like, hey, Mackie.
But like Mac is one of those where it's like I can't even imagine calling you Kayla right now. And I'm like, we've also like we've known each other for like several years and like
Mhm.
that's clearly what everyone calls her. But yeah, it is funny that and Live after the game being like, you went with your government name?
I just she mentioned it of like they called me my government, even if they called me my government name, and I was like, yeah, I haven't called her that probably since like my
Mm,
first training camp that I covered this
yeah.
team. It's Raining Hen adds, wasn't it on the jumbo? No, that was a completely organic Kayla
Mm,
chant. There's nothing on the jumbo. That was just Minnesota fans being awesome like that. There's not a lot of organic chants. Sloane, someone has asked a couple times if you have just a couple more minutes.
yeah.
Chloe Bibby, any thoughts?
You know, that's interesting because I actually call a lot of her games at Maryland after she transferred from Mississippi State. So I feel like I go way back with her, where for the Terrapins, a team that was consistently going to the Sweet 16, to the Elite Eight, she was such a solid leader for that team, someone who just is very mature, very comfortable in who she is on and off the court. I feel like she just had a lot of trust, a high level of trust with that program and the players around her for a really high level program. A lot of versatility, certainly too. Like when you maybe don't get it when she's in street clothes, but she is. I mean, she's a solid. What is she listed at? At least 6'2", 6'3".
6'2", I think
Is
she's
very
listed,
much
but
that.
it's a all 6'2".
Yeah. And she's very solidly built. Like she is strong and solid. So you have the ability for someone to play on the interior, but also knock down threes. I think it's intriguing. You get someone who is a national level player in a really great basketball country in Australia, someone who has just been kind of steady, even going back to their college days, who you feel like is just going to meld into this team. I think from a professional and personality standpoint. So I think it honestly makes a lot of sense. And why not have another shooter around who can be really dependable, if the opportunity arises.
My take's pretty similar.
Mhm.
I think she's Dorka insurance. If
Mm.
Dorka doesn't start stringing together more consistent kind of minutes, especially on the defensive side. Chloe was a small ball center in Spain and Belgium where she won her MVPs. Like break glass in case of emergency. Dorka's unplayable. We have a 6'2" Aussie that can get smacked around and hit in the head and all the things we loved laying for.
Yeah, well, that's the reputation they have for a reason. And like I asked her about it when she first talked to the media, and she was, it is not just lip service that these Aussies are built different.
No, they all are. Have you seen the spiders out there? They're giant.
I think she said in a video once, she was like asked by, some funny social media thing where, what's your like biggest fear? And she said spiders. And I was like, that's amazing coming from someone from Australia because that's what I associate. Like you have encounters with spiders maybe every day.
Yeah, no, they have to be tough over there. They wouldn't make it if they wouldn't. There's like poisonous mammals. Koalas are giving out like what, syphilis? Sounds terrible
What?
in Australia. Yeah. You didn't know that? There's like a giant koala syphilis issue where if you like touch them and you don't wash your hands, you can like contract syphilis from the koalas.
No,
This is the benefit of knowing a nurse. Like it was something like in nursing school.
I
We
shouldn't
had
be
to
laughing. This
learn
is very
about
serious, but
because
I
it was
feel
a
bad for
big enough
koalas.
problem that like people are just getting syphilis from koalas.
That really changed.
Not in a weird way. They're not getting syphilis from koalas in a weird way. They're getting it in a wholesome way of like, oh, let's touch this little red-eyed monster
cuddly.
and then syphilis.
I feel sad for them.
It's raining heads right. It's chlamydia, not syphilis. Chlamydia. Yeah, the clap.
Also,
all right, well, that's where we're going to end this one on a chlamydia reference. So, Sloane, anything to plug? Anything new in your life you want to shout out?
No, it's just
Greyhounds are okay still?
Yes, you know what? He is such an angel, and truly, like if you are looking for a dog, especially if you're someone who feels like you need a purebred dog, look at a greyhound. They are so wonderful. He's behind me right now, but I can't show you because there's like laundry to be folded behind me. But of course, I'm on Instagram _Sloane Martin, Sloane Martin on Twitter/X. And also just join us on Victory Plus starting tomorrow. We've had like a little bit of this layoff here with those national game exclusives, but gosh, I think I've only got like 7 or 8 games left. In terms of our Victory Plus schedule. So we appreciate everybody who tunes in, and we'll finish it strong.
Are you going to be doing radio for playoffs, or is that still up in the air?
I don't know. We will see. That would be fun, of course. We'll report back if I hear anything.
Okay, cool. Well, everyone that joined in for the live stream, this will get posted up on YouTube and X as soon as I hit end stream. It'll be out as a audio version tomorrow at 7 a.m. Anywhere you get your podcasts, that's Sloane Martin, the voice of the Lynx. I'm Andrew Dukowitz from Zone Coverage SI. Someday I'll actually have a consistent end to a podcast. Today is not that day, though. So everyone, we will see you tomorrow after, oh gosh, who are they playing?
Portland.
Maybe BC will celebrate in front of the bench again.